TF2 has a lot of weapons that are considered noob weapons. Really, almost every first-person shooter game with weapon choice has these, but the TF2 community seems to think that a lot of these noob weapons are actually bad weapons and only useful for low-skill players, when that's not the case. Now, this isn't true for every noob weapon. The Righteous Bison, for instance, is absurdly bad and is so cripplingly buggy that it should never be used. For that reason, there are actually two groups of noob weapons. One, the group of weapons that are so bad only new players would use them, and on the other hand, there are weapons that absolutely destroy the competition and need very little skill, which is the very reason they are noob weapons in the first place. These weapons are so strong, if you aren't beating the enemy team with them, you might just be stupid, or the other team is using them as well. I'm going to list these weapons today and explain why they are so strong, partially from the perspective of casual 12v12 lobbies, which is where 99% of the TF2 player base is going to see them used, and partially from the competitive Highlander and 6v6 scene. Phlog. This is the normal go-to noob weapon that people get in their head whenever this topic is brought up. It doesn't have air blast and instead has a phlog meter that the player builds up by burning enemies for 300 damage. Activating this meter forces the Pyro to taunt, which provides him with uber charge for the duration of the taunt, then activates full critical hits on the phlogistinator for 10 seconds, minus the duration of the taunt. Unless the taunt is skipped, which we will talk about later. Without Air Blast, it reduces Pyro to W plus M1, the class, and with only those buttons, it can still be absurdly effective. But the Phlog is nothing without the right loadout backing it up. If you are running Phlog, you should also be using the Squirt Shot and Power Jack alongside it. The Squirt Shot can be spammed at long range to farm your Phlog's charge meter, and the Power Jack is used to catch up to enemies that run away while you try to burn them with Phlog crits. There are two main strategies Phlog Pyros use. One, they spam the Squirt Shot and charge up their Phlog. Then they hide behind a corner, pop the Phlogistinator, and suicide into a large group of enemies. This can be pretty effective, especially on close-quartered maps like Dust Bowl, but it isn't the most effective. The most effective method of using the Phlog is so strong that most of the TF2 community looks down upon it and refuses to ever do it. Synchronizing an uber charge with Phlog. Now, the Pyro can run in with crits into enemies that can't hurt him, and with that Power Jack in your pocket, it would be pretty tough for any enemies to get away. And there's actually one more strategy that I almost never see Phlog Pyros use, which is arguably even more effective in casual lobbies, which you can do by abusing a bug. If you jump on an enemy's head and pop the Phlog, then they run out from underneath you, you can attack enemies immediately and you'll have your self-generated Uber for a short amount of time while killing people because you skipped the taunt. You can also bait a stupid enemy Pyro to air blast you right as you pop Phlog for the same effect. Either way, both of these rely on stupid opponents, but when you see the opportunity, you better go for it. Now, what about competitive? The Phlog is much worse in competitive because there are less players to burn to farm that Phlog meter, and because there are less noobs to farm. And in Highlander, enemy Pyros will likely extinguish their teammates. The Phlog is actually allowed in every form of competitive currently as this video is going up, and is used quite frequently in Highlander, although almost never in 6v6. As one of the Phlog's companion weapons, the Squirt Shot is banned in 6v6, and 6 players just isn't enough people to farm to get a Phlog up. On to the next noob weapon, the Machina. The Machina's power mainly comes from its increased 15% damage on a fully charged shot. This changes a fully charged body shot from 150 to 173 damage, which is significantly more lethal and can one-shot most classes that don't have a full overheal with a simple body shot. It can also pierce enemies at full charge, which is good for picking off medics, but that isn't nearly as strong an upside as the extra damage. For these upsides, it has the downsides that you can't shoot while unscoped, which can be pretty annoying if you get popped in the air, as you will be completely unable to shoot, and also tracing rounds on your shots, which is kind of annoying, but not that big a deal. This spawns a unique strategy for sniper. Sit behind an active corner, fully charge a shot, peek out, and body shot someone as fast as you can. Then go back to hiding. A body shot can kill most classes with the Machina, so it makes it easy to pick off enemies while barely exposing your body. And in casual mode, because there are even more cramped maps and more players, it's easier to abuse this strategy and get multi-kills even. In competitive, the Machina is banned in 6v6 and UGC Highlander, but not ETF Highlander. The reason it is banned in 6v6 is because it's simply too easy to get a pick with the Machina. All you need to do is get one body shot kill, then change classes, and you'll easily win a whole team battle. It also makes it very difficult for medics to hide on certain 6v6 maps due to the piercing property. They just can't hide behind their teammates anymore, so they get killed really easily. In Highlander, there's not a consensus here. The weapon is still certainly strong, but one pick isn't as useful on Highlander because there are 9 players, and Sniper is a high value target on almost every Highlander map, meaning the tracing rounds can easily get you caught and the other sniper can headshot you then. Plus this is competitive, they're going to be pretty good. Or the soldier could bomb you if they can see where you are. If I was playing Highlander, I would still use the Machina though if it was allowed, because you could one-shot the enemy sniper, then run to your team to get rid of the soldier and have won the team battle. Sydney Sleeper. This weapon is very similar to the Machina. It's a body shotting machine. This weapon is actually pretty uncommon and casual, but it's definitely seen as a noob weapon. It has a 25% faster charge rate. On scoped hit, it applies Girardi for 2 to 5 seconds based on the charge level of the shot. And scoped headshots always mini crit. However, it can't headshot, so no full crits. Those never happen. And for some reason, it says no random crits, even though all sniper rifles can't random crit. The strategy is the same as with the Machina. Full charge, peek, body shot. It will only deal 150 damage, but they'll be Girardi'd for 5 seconds, so your team should be able to finish them off if it doesn't kill them. And you can shoot more frequently with the Sydney Sleeper than you can with the Machina due to that extra charge rate. In casual, this weapon is super annoying to fight, but in competitive, it's only banned in 6v6. That's because in 6v6, it once again is just too easy to pick an enemy off with and swap classes. In 9v9, however, you have no headshots, which means that the enemy sniper has an advantage over you with full overheal, because you can't one-shot him, but he can one-shot you, and he should always have full overheal because that's just what you do in Highlander. And you also wouldn't be able to put the heavy down nearly as well because you wouldn't be able to one-shot him, so it isn't a banned weapon in that format. On to the next weapon, the Diamondback. The Diamondback is an extremely similar weapon to the Phlog, except it is for spy. For every backstab kill or building sapped with the Diamondback equipped, you gain 1 guaranteed critical hit that will do 102 damage. Its downsides are minus 15% damage penalty and no random crits. It should also be noted that every revolver has a unique spray pattern and the Diamondback is less accurate than the revolver. However, that doesn't stop this weapon from being a broken OP menace, especially in casual. In casual, the main strategy with this weapon is to farm easy backstabs on noobs, then store the crits up and identify the enemy team's strongest player and shoot them with the crits, or other high value targets like medics with ubercharge and shoot them with the crits. For instance, a very long time ago, I got in a match against Banny, one of the best TF2 players and captain of Froyo Tech. His teammates were really bad, think 6 to 7 players who just installed the game. I backstabbed them, then shot Banny with the crits and waited by his spawn. I repeatedly farmed backstabs on the noobs coming out of spawn, hid invisible somewhere I thought Banny would walk by, and shot Banny every time he came out of spawn before he could fight me or do much damage to my team. all the way until we had capped the first point of Frontier for free pretty much. Afterwards, I went to watch back the VOD for his stream. Banny was talking to the chat about how there is no counter for the strategy, and he complained about how the weapon shouldn't exist, or at least not be this way, which I'd agree with him on. Banny is generally strong enough to take on 5 or 6 really good enemy players by himself, but because of those stored crits, he just couldn't really do much. There's really nothing he could have done differently either. The fault was purely on his noob teammates letting me farm them, so it's just not a fun weapon to play against. That's just an example of how it is broken in casual though. In competitive, it's also problematic. Firstly, because random crits are already disabled in competitive, so one of its downsides just isn't a thing in the first place. Every competitive mode except for 4v4 currently bans the Diamondback, and obviously it's not banned in 4v4 because spy would just be horrible in that format. It'd be super easy to tell who's a spy. The reason it's banned in every mode is because the normal strategy for a spy in competitive is to backstab one person and die almost instantly to the enemy team, because it's just too hard to get out alive when players are extremely good. The Diamondback makes this strategy much stronger. Your team will hurt one target as you backstab one of their easy to pick off teammates, such as a scoped sniper, and then you shoot that enemy with a guaranteed crit that is slightly hurt the person your team's been shooting, and you finish them off. Even if the enemy team kills you at this point, they are fighting with one less player alive, so they're almost guaranteed to lose. Plus, you completely derail their team, forcing them to turn around and shoot you while your team is pushing in from the front. Now, I would not say this necessarily makes Spy OP or anything, because Spy is a super weak class in general, but compared to his other revolvers, it's way stronger. So it is an OP revolver. The main issue with this, and the reason why it's banned in competitive, is because it makes the game not fun to play, because there's really no counterplay to that for the person who gets shot. It's on the teammate who got backstabbed. Next up, Mad Milk. This throwable is blatantly broken and practically unbeatable if used correctly. An enemy covered in Mad Milk lets you recover 60% of the damage you've done to them in self-healing. Same goes for any of your teammates who deal damage to that target. Here's an example of why it is so strong. Let's say I milked a heavy and my heavy teammate is coming up to fight him with the exact same minigun. Generally, these battles are decided by whoever starts hitting the enemy first, so if one person's a tick sooner, they'll probably win with a heavy battle. Not all that skilled. But with Mad Milk on the enemy, my team's heavy would heal 180 health over the duration of the battle for killing the other heavy. He'd have to be brain dead to lose that fight with an extra 180 HP, and this goes for all fights. Now, in casual, you still don't see many scouts using this. Quite frankly, you don't see many scouts at all because there are tons of engineers in casual, and sentries are hard to fight as scout. When it comes out, it wreaks havoc. 3 to 4 enemies getting soaked at a time. Throwing one of these well can have similar power to a quick fix Uber. Now, how about in competitive? It's only banned in 6v6 and 4v4. It is not banned in Highlander. In 6v6, it's banned because it is incredibly strong in 1v1 scenarios. Oftentimes, the teams will split up, especially scouts, and in a scout v scout or scout v soldier situation, this weapon practically wins the fight for free. And one kill is all it takes for the entire enemy team to fall like a line of dominoes. But why isn't it banned in Highlander? A few possible reasons are that teams stay closer together in Highlander, so medics or dispensers can get rid of the status effect in 2.5 seconds, rather than the normal 10-second duration. Another possible reason is strong engineers forcing the only scout to use the bonk atomic punch to allow their team to push through strong sentry holds, which I think is more so the reason than the one I said before. And finally, not every OP weapon really needs to be banned, because both teams can use them. Generally though, they are banned to facilitate better game flow and to make certain one weapon doesn't just cause the match to be a roll for one side of the map always, like how the short circuit helps the attacking team on payload maps because the engineer can just keep sucking metal from the payload. And that's all for the video today, guys. Like this video and subscribe, or I will random crit your dog.